Content is intended to provide accurate information, however, is not intended as financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult a financial, legal, or tax professional for specific information regarding your individual situation. Opinions expressed and provided are for general informational purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security.
Welcome to Game Plan for Retirement with Chris McIntire. McIntire Retirement Services, Northwest Ohio's retirement planning resource.
And welcome in the program. This is your Game Plan for Retirement, Northwestern Ohio's resource for that common sense approach to navigating this complex financial world. He is Chris McIntire, president and founder of McIntire Retirement Services and creator of your Game Plan for Retirement. Chris, welcome back in.
Hey, Peter, it's good to be with you. We're kicking off another year of doing the show. I don't know how many that makes, so it must mean a lot.
We've been doing it for quite some time now, Chris, and you know, a lot of people in Northwestern Ohio have turned to you to get that customized game plan for retirement. We're going to be talking about that plan today and how new savers, investors, retirement-minded individuals in the retirement planning community in Northwestern Ohio can get a true plan in their hands. Now, Chris, your plan that you create there at McIntire Retirement Services, you've called that your game plan for retirement. It really is broken down into simple, easy to understand steps, easy to follow instructions so that those that count and rely on your guidance can follow them and achieve their financial goals.
Peter, my parents, my mother was a teacher, my grandmother was a teacher, my great-grandmother was a teacher. So I think I just have a natural ability to help deliver things in an easy step-by-step process. We can get down in the weeds pretty, in very detailed circumstances for folks. Some folks that are listening to the show don't really care about all the intricacies. They want to stay at the 10,000 foot level, if you will. Then we deal with a lot of engineers and that type that are much more technical. So we can tailor our conversations to anybody out there. And, as we work our way through 2021, Peter, I think we're all awaiting more vaccines to roll out. We're doing some Zoom appointments right now. So with everything being done on a remote basis, it's been very nice. Those of you that listen to our podcast, you can see I'm kind of up in our little loft room here. And Peter always makes a joke that, I record in many different areas of the house. Sometimes I'm in my man cave. Sometimes I'm in the loft. Sometimes we're sitting there in the living room with the fireplace in the background. So just kind of depends how I set up for the day.
Yeah. Well, Chris, I know that you moved into that new house, I think at the end of last year. 3 years now? Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So it's been a little longer than I even thought. We have been doing the show for a while, but I know that you really have enjoyed that location there, kind of right on Lake Erie. You got a great view out of your backyard, and during coronavirus and COVID and the quarantines, obviously spent a lot more time there than you typically were in the past. Well, it's funny. You mentioned creating the plans and the level of detail that some people like. Chris, I feel like some people just want to find someone they feel they can trust and let them handle everything. And then other people want to know every detail, all the minutia of the plan. And you really can help to customize the guidance that you're giving based on what somebody's looking for. But at least the initial plan that you put together, your game plan for retirement, the tangible document, the consolidated, concise instructions that you put in people's hands, that really is created and customized for whatever level of detail people are looking for.
Yeah, no question about it, Peter. And I guess that's probably the little niche that we have in how customized and detail-oriented people want from, a basket of individual stocks to a portfolio of mutual funds to an income type annuity to tax planning to wealth transfer to long-term care planning. When you think of retirement, it is more than just having a 401k and taking $3,000 a month out of it. It is Social Security timing. It is, long-term care planning. We, have a dear friend of ours that's in a memory care unit at $8,000 a month and, going on year number 2 now. So, we have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, in her care. And thankfully, she's also had a long-term care policy that helps pay. Right now, it pays 100% of those bills. So her entire pension and all of their her assets get to stay and to actually grow, and she's using someone else's money to pay the bill. That's perfect planning. And they had, were smart enough to do some of the planning 20 years prior to needing that type of risk management.
Well, leverage of our money. That's one of the things that we'll be talking about that is outlined in the plan, your game plan for retirement that you put together for savers and investors across Northwestern Ohio. And ladies and gentlemen, if you would like that document in your hands, a concise, consolidated plan that gives you a snapshot of where you are, outlines your goals, and provides recommendations on how to achieve them, pick up the phone and give Chris McIntire a call, 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194. Today, we will talk a little bit more about what that plan consists of, why it's different than anything you're going to get anywhere else other than McIntire Retirement Services, and what you'll get out of the plan, how you can get that in your hands. So stay tuned. Again, give a call if you'd like to get started in that process, 800-868-1194. But Chris, the first part of it really is a snapshot of an individual's current situation. And this part alone is probably worth the investment of time that an individual would have to make in order to get this plan.
Absolutely, Peter. Getting the overall picture, when you do this every single day, you know what holes to look for, where the big risks are. You might have somebody come in and 90% of their money is in the company's stock that they work for. And obviously that's, way overweighted no matter what the company is. Another example could be, they got $200,000 sitting in the bank account because they're nervous about the stock and the bond market. We can assist with that, keeping pace with inflation and whatnot. And, there are many different risks out here that we're all trying to eliminate or manage, because you can't get rid of them. You can manage risk. And, I suppose that's where we found our niche in the marketplace here. We don't try to be something to everybody. We're not a broker that you walk in off the street and say, hey, I just got $6,000. Where can I put it? We're more in that whole holistic retirement planning process. And I guess that's what sets us apart.
Well, Maya Angelou said, if you don't know where you've come from, you don't know where you're going. Another way to put that, Chris, if I'm starting any journey on mapping out my path, I need to know where I am. I remember, once upon a time, we used to go to malls. My mission when I went to the mall was to get in and out of the mall as quick as possible. So anytime I walked in, I always looked for that red arrow on the map right at the front door that said, you are here. And then I would find the location that I needed to get to or wanted to get to and map my quickest path in and out. And the most important part of any journey is understanding where your starting point is. And that's why the snapshot of the current situation is so valuable. And it really illuminates some things that people might not really understand about their current situation. Are they making great progress? Are they ahead of the game? Or maybe do they have some ground that they need to make up?
Correct. And, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. So that's why you need to know, hey, where are we starting out here? Where do you want to get to? What are the different paths that can get you there? Because there's, a lot of times in what we do, there's more than one road to get you to a goal. Our job is to help lay out the different pathways that you take. And, some folks want to get there as quickly as they can. They want to buzz down the interstate at 80 miles an hour. Some folks want to take a more scenic route and more cautious and more slowly. And, we're up here in got the Amish country near us as well. Some folks don't care about the interstate and they want to take all the backcountry roads and see all the sights. So, from being aggressive to getting there quick to getting there a little bit slowly, but you still have to identify what that goal is and then what paths do you want to take to get to that, to obtain that goal, Peter.
Well, I think a lot of savers, Chris, probably have goals, but maybe have never spoken them aloud, and they might not be written down anywhere. A goal written down becomes a dream. A dream written down becomes a goal. A goal broken down into steps becomes a plan. A plan backed by action makes your dreams come true. Author and motivational speaker Greg Reed quoted that one that I stumbled through, but I think it's very apropos to the plan that you put together for folks, because really it is a dream written down into steps, put into action. And that's really what's going to make that dream a reality.
Sure, and as we're trying to help people achieve these goals, we have to make recommendations. So, I guess you could say we're kind of the doctor of their finances. And if you look at, ever been driving down the road and you see somebody who looks like they're, incredibly healthy, do a lot of things to take good care of themselves. They probably had a doctor that said, look, your family history says you need to eat right, you need to exercise more often. And, we all need to do some of those things. That's fairly common sense. But when it comes to your retirement recommendations, and if you are a very aggressive type investor, it doesn't mean you still don't have a safe money plan. Okay. If you're a conservative type investor, it doesn't mean you don't have any money in stocks. You need to, try to counteract with that rate of inflation and so that you don't lose your purchasing power. So, as we make these recommendations, like, what kind of diet do you take for your risk, if you will, trying to make a food analogy of it here. I'm going to get hungry by the end of the show here, Peter.
Yeah.
But, and that's what we get to do. And our independence, Peter, gives us the ability to make recommendations that are based on the client's best interests, not our own. We have that fiduciary responsibility, where we have to act in the best interest of the client. We certainly want them to succeed, and if they win, we win. They send clients our direction. And, what a wonderful way that is. And, build some wonderful ongoing relationships that we've had, for over a decade, coming up on 2 decades. And that's just, what a great feeling that is to have some very well-established relationships. That's when you're doing the right thing.
Well, again, the Your Game Plan for Retirement, a tangible document, easy to follow instructions, simple to understand language. If you would like to get that in your hands, pick up the phone right now. Give Chris McIntire Retirement Services a call, 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194. Starts with that conversation. No cost, no obligation, no downside to placing that call. And then you can set up a time to have a longer discussion with Chris. You'll be provided with a snapshot of where you are now, a defined goals written out into a plan that consists of recommendations. Now, Chris, those recommendations, those are those action items. Those are those steps. Those are what the individual should do to accomplish their goals. And you've got that broken down even further. That part of the plan has priorities, what's first, second, and third on the list, has those action items and a timeline over which those actions should be taken or over which results should be reasonably expected, correct?
That is absolutely correct, Peter. If you take and step back on what Peter's saying here today, folks, and what we're highlighting here is, we want to take a snapshot of your current situation. We want to define the goals. Okay? We can make some recommendations, tell you what's been addressed, what will the results of those be, how do we measure those results, identify the key opportunities, help you achieve what you have as your priorities. I want to travel in our first 10 years of retirement, and then we'll take it easy. And then what are the action items and the timeline to get these things in place? You don't just all of a sudden walk into the HR department and says, I'm retiring in 2 weeks, and then begin your retirement planning process. These are things that you want to do well in advance. Our friend that's in memory care bought a long-term care policy in 1999, didn't need it until 2019, and it pays 100% of her care right now. It was a cognitive issue there's some family history there. So again, identifying, knowing what the timeline was. So they bought this policy way back when premiums were very cheap. That's just a great example. Did estate planning, had a trust in place, powers of attorney in place. Husband passed away suddenly, and so all the financial powers. We didn't have to go through probate. We didn't have to do anything. They had done a wonderful job. And who cares where the investments are? Everything else had to be in place. Then the investments became important.
Well, just an example of why planning is so important, and the transition over which that occurred, Chris. Obviously, that in and of itself, an arduous process. You don't want the financial entanglements to further complicate things, and that's why having that plan, laying that plan out, having concise, consolidated steps that are clearly defined is so important and makes life that much easier. That's why you have that plan, ladies and gentlemen. To get your game plan for retirement in your hands, pick up the phone, give a call. Chris McIntire will put that together for you on a complimentary, no cost, no obligation basis. Now, Chris is willing to help anyone who is serious about improving their outlook and their financial future. Of course, some strategies are going to work best for those who have been avid savers and serious investors and have amassed certain amounts, but that's why the priorities are going to be different for each and every individual. If you would like that plan in your hands, again, give a call now, 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194. And Chris, just for that fact, I mean, a family that's got a $25-30 million net worth, one of their priorities is probably figuring out how to take advantage of current estate tax exemptions, whereas somebody with maybe $500,000 to $1 million, their priorities, what might be first in their plan, may be more about making that money last through the entirety of their lifetime. That's just one example of where things are going to be different, unique, and individualized. But there are some uncommon things that are addressed in the plan that you create.
Absolutely, Peter. And one of the biggest things that we'll do is, identify some underperforming assets. And even right now in our current practice is, now that we're into a new year, looks like the pandemic's, the bulk of it's going to be behind us here through 2021 is, all right, identify where do we need to place some more resources, do some portfolio readjustments, if you will. And, what sectors of the economy do we like? Are we going to do some international type investing, emerging markets, looking at things that have that have a historical track record of, what part of the market makes sense. We got, legislative agendas and all these things that we're taking into consideration. So, it is an ongoing process. What got you there isn't always what's going to take you to the end. So, if you think of your life as playing a game, retirement might get you into into halftime, if you will. The second half is making that money last throughout the rest of your lifetime, passing it on tax efficiently, creating legacies, or, if you want to make the last check you write to the funeral home bounce, then, that's certainly a different priority, but not to make light of it, of course. But
well, that's what my dad told me his goal was, but I told him that was inherently very difficult to time correctly, and whether he left some assets and wealth behind or had bounced a check well before that undertaker, if he missed time that at all, there was going to be some kind of legacy. It would be positive or negative, we couldn't tell. But that's, again, Chris, why the plan is so important. You can make sure that you've got pieces in place that will provide for, those expenses up and through the time that you need them.
You're absolutely right, Peter. And another good example here is, we had a very highly contested election. We didn't know the results. We had that runoff in the Senate race and all of that uncertainty. And yet the market continued to go up and up from November into December. One of the best quarters that we basically have ever had here in the United States. Given all that uncertainty, they pass a second round of stimulus there right at the end of the year. And, I've got clients that are very emotionally type investors that moved into cash and missed that entire run up in the stock market. I've got other clients that have been very conservative and rode conservative all the way through 2020 and did just fine. So, sometimes, look, we all have our emotional buttons that get pushed from time to time. And, in 2020, it would have been the political button that got pushed, obviously. Some people, love one administration, didn't want the other one, so on and so forth. I'll stay neutral here, but the market really didn't care.
But Chris, those recommendations and what is addressed in the plan, there are some core key common elements: income, investments, taxes, healthcare, legacy. Those are going to be common for everybody. But when you break those down and get into each and every one of those components individually within the plan that you create, that's where you're identifying key opportunities, identifying insufficiencies, underperforming assets, the items that you just spoke of. That's where things can, a lot of times, once a little light is shed, be easily improved.
Yeah, Peter, and where we run into some of the folks that have difficulties making decisions. You and I make decisions all day, every day. It's just what we do. Not everybody makes these types of decisions. So, we have to do some hand holding, if you will, and say, look, let's take one step. We don't have to reinvent the wheel tomorrow and completely undo your retirement. There are some folks out there that are listening today that know they need to make some changes, that, things aren't going very well for them. They may have lost a spouse. We have dealt with a lot of that in 2020. And now we're dealing with a widower that maybe wasn't the key decision maker. So you have to reassess. And, I may have talked to the husband and said, here's what we need to do. Here's why we need to do it. And he'd say, okay, go ahead and do it. But he had a much more diverse background, dealt with the finances for 40 years. The wife didn't deal with them whatsoever. So we have to go a little slower there in that situation. So even in our current client environment, Peter, is having the ability, the skill to recognize when you need to slow down and take things a little different, is, I guess, something that experience has given us an advantage on.
Well, again, if you would like to benefit from that experience and have your plan clearly defined, a snapshot of where you are, defined written goals and objectives, and a timeline for action and implementation, how to actually take the recommendations and put them into reality, pick up the phone, give Chris McIntire a call. He'll create that game plan for retirement for you, for your individual situation. 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194. 800-868-1194. And Chris, your game plan for retirement that you talk about for each individual, that really is different. I mean, it's different because every individual is different, but the way that you create and craft this plan is really different than what savers and investors are going to get from anywhere else. These are not the type of plans that the big name firms are creating for people.
Not necessarily, Peter. They may have, some agreements with certain companies that they want preferred space. I guess you could say they're paying for shelf space. Why is Coca-Cola at eye level when you walk into the grocery store, not on the bottom shelf, not on the top shelf? And you and I would know, being independent, that, hey, sometimes, we don't care where it's put in the grocery store. We know what we need to buy for this client and why they need these different vehicles. That's more than just stocks, bonds, and mutual funds and ETFs. There's a number of different avenues and investments that we can bring into the mix here. We got a challenging interest rate environment going forward that affects the bond market, that affects our kind of your safe money, if you will, on the CD and the bank side of things. We're not making anything, but we still need to keep pace with inflation. There's somebody out there listening today that's, they're saying, well, you're saying all of this, but the stock market's at record highs. And we're not here telling everybody to, throw caution to the wind by any stretch. But every week, people have money that comes out of their paychecks and goes into the stock market. Every week, people are doing that by the tens of millions. And the more money that flows into there drives the prices up. It is by the laws of supply and demand. Why does Walmart stock go up when, Nordstrom stock falls down? Well, they're different types of companies. That's why. So not all stocks are bad all the time. Not all stocks are good all the time.
Well, again, Chris McIntire putting all of that together. It can be a complex financial world, but you need simple, easy to follow instructions, a concise list of action items, a timeline to implement and execute on those. That's what your game plan for retirement is all about. That's the document. That's the plan that Chris McIntire will put together and put in your hands for you. Just give a call, 800-868-1194, if you'd like to get that together and in your hands, 800-868-1194. But Chris, I've got to say, those recommendations, those action items, without actually being implemented and put into action, aren't going to lead to progress. We've got to execute on those. So you've given the recommendations, and then you have the conversation about the implementation and execution, correct?
That's right, Peter. There are a lot of unrewarded geniuses out there for sure that had great ideas but never put them to work. And, that's our job, is to, create strategies that work for your individual situation, implement those for you, help you get started, monitor them on an ongoing basis, and make changes as needed.
Well, again, if you would like help in any of those steps, pick up the phone, give Chris McIntire a call, 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194, 800-868-1194. Chris, we're almost a month here into the new year, 2021. And I know to begin this year, a lot of resolutions were made to improve our financial outlook. Having this kind of plan in our hands is going to be one of the most important tools to provide us some advantage in actually following through and getting those resolutions and those goals accomplished. Getting
Corona behind us, where we get back to normal, is going to allow people to get their priorities back on track. A lot of people, went cautious into 2020 for obvious reasons. A lot of unknown there. It's time to get back on track here into 2021. Let us help you make some of those very important decisions and give you the confidence, to give you the peace of mind to improve your quality of life through the retirement. You deserve it.
And coming full circle here, Chris, we talked at the beginning of the program about certain vehicles that you helped people put in place, locate, find, secure, that provided leverage. Now, to have another parallel here, another analogy, even before heavy machinery and cranes and the combustion engine, there were some amazing structures that were built by people who understood certain tools, what tools performed what job and could provide leverage. When we're talking about the financial world, you're helping people put those kind of structures together by locating the right tool to provide leverage for their dollars and help their dollars accomplish tasks that they may not have previously thought were possible.
You're absolutely right. And for you mathematicians out there, a square building has a whole lot of triangles so that it doesn't implode.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Chris, we always appreciate the time. And I think that a lot of savers and investors across Northwestern Ohio have appreciated the guidance, the perspective, the insight, and the planning, the work that you've done, the plans that you've created and crafted, your game plan for retirement that you've given to them, those clear, easy to follow instructions. And ladies and gentlemen, if you would like your game plan for retirement in your hands, pick up the phone now. Give Chris McIntire a call, 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194, 800-868-1194. Chris, we always appreciate the time. Thank you for being here as our resource.
My pleasure. Hope everybody is doing well out there. Stay safe, guys. Light at the end of the tunnel. Let's keep getting there.
We always appreciate the time with Chris McIntire. I know he's looking forward to hearing from you, looking forward to helping in any way he can, looking forward to getting your customized individual plan in your hands. Pick up the phone, give him a call, 800-868-1194. McIntire Retirement Services helps savers and investors better determine their outcome and makes their goals realities through proper planning. Specifically, if you'd like to learn how to retire, if you'd like to learn how to keep more of your money and be more efficient with it, if you'd like to learn how to reduce risk, reduce fees, and improve your outlook, pick up the phone, get your game plan for retirement in your hands. 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194. We'll talk to you next time on Your Game Plan for Retirement.
Visit McIntyreRetirementServices.com for many additional valuable resources, including other great episodes of Game Plan for Retirement with Chris McIntire. Be sure to subscribe.
The content of this radio show is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. You are encouraged to seek investment, tax, or legal advice from an independent professional advisor. Any investments and/or investment strategies mentioned involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, a registered investment advisor.
Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services. Advisory clients are charged a quarterly fee for assets under management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.
Any comments regarding safe and secure investments and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Indexed or fixed annuities are not designed for short-term investments and may be subject to caps, restrictions, fees, and surrender charges as described in the annuity contract.